Hello, listeners, and welcome to the eighth episode of the Undiluted Podcast. This is JP, and here with me today is Mike, and we have a special guest, Mr. Shellie.
Hello.
Hey,
And
What's up, Shellie?
What's
How's it
happening, Mike?
going?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, man. So for a lot of you guys know, Shellie is my coworker, and he's a huge fan of the Marvel series, and it just so happened that we're doing the episode to just to think about the things that Stanley has contributed to pop culture and what he's done for everybody in the world and throughout. And since Shells, you're gonna hear me call him Shells. That's my nickname for him throughout the episode. He's a huge fan of Marvel, so I just thought it'd be great to have him on today. So, man, let's jump right into it.
It's nice to be here.
yes, sir, thanks for being on.
Thank you.
Stan Lee, we all know him as Stan Lee, but he was born Stanley Martin Lieber. He's from New York, and he made a huge impact on the world of comic books. And a lot of people, they watch the Marvel Cinematic Universe or have started out watching Marvel films with Spiderman, Tobey Maguire films, and the X-Men films. But a lot of younger people watch these shows, because I remember who was that? Someone asked me while I was watching the Venom movie, and Stan Lee made a cameo,
Yeah.
and they looked over and asked me, like, who's that old guy that everybody started clapping for?
Oh,
when they
man.
showed him? And I'm like,
Did you
man.
immediately walk them out of the theater and make them sit in the car?
No, I couldn't do that. It was a good friend of mine, so I didn't want to, embarrass them like that. But I just looked like, what? But yeah, Stan Lee, on the subject of cameos, he's cameoed in each of the Marvel films. He's also cameoed in some of the shows, like even some of the lesser known shows that a lot of people don't talk about, like Marvel Runaways on Hulu, which is a pretty good show. He made a cameo in that.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he's cameoed in the the Jessica Jones and even the Netflix shows.
Yeah, he's been all over the place making cameos, and he still will. After unfortunately passing away a couple of days ago, he still filmed his cameos prior to his passing, and he will be in the Captain Marvel film and the Avengers 4 film.
Definitely.
So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And so basically, Stan Lee, him and Jack Kirby, and others, they
Steve
created
Ditko.
these. Yes, sir. They created these wonderful characters like decades ago, that some of us are just being introduced to right now. Shellie, what are some of your favorite Marvel comic book characters that we're familiar with and that some people may not be familiar with?
Yeah. Well, my favorite's always been Spider-Man. I mean, the most popular one, of course, but he just as a teenager, he always had those flaws, and always worried about getting the girl, and I just resonated with me. So that was always my favorite. But you gotta how he contributed, like with Black Panther. I mean, that's a huge, contribute that he contributed that to the comic books, and even Doctor Strange. I mean, that was kind of a out there, Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, these guys, even though they're almost up until recently, they're now forefront, but they were always in the background, and but great, characters.
Yes, sir. Coincidentally, I have Black Panther playing right now on mute. I wasn't very familiar with the character. Like when I first heard they were making a film about him, so I started doing my little research prior to seeing the film, and the film turned out to be pretty awesome, man. I hope they do great things with the character going forward.
Yeah, I was the same way with Black Panther. I wasn't like I always seen Black Panther pop up in the Avenger movie or Avenger cartoon down the line before he popped up in the cinematic universe. But I always seen him pop up in other cartoons. I didn't think he was gonna turn into this big phenom that he is now, and understandably so. But it was just kind of crazy that Stan Lee's vision, back whenever, back dating back to the 60s and 50s when he's creating these comic book characters with Jack Kirby, by the way, and it'd be like the smallest characters that he created in the 60s and 40s turns out to be like these big characters, like Jack Kirby. A lot of people should know. I think a lot of people know him. He's the one that created Captain America.
Right.
And and then he ended up collaborating with Stan Lee at the Marvel Studios back when it was like Atlas or some other company, and it ended up turning it into Timely. Yep, you're right. And it just started to they just started building on. I think it really took off when they collaborated with Spider-Man. Spider-Man became this huge hit. So
I've always loved Spider-Man. I was first introduced to that character on the Fox show, cartoon Spider-Man.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's the Spider-Man I always see when I think of Spider-Man. That's the first thing I think of, that cartoon version.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, both you guys brought Spider-Man up. He's at the center of like everything. You can kind of tell. I think that's Stan Lee's favorite character.
Oh yeah, he did say that.
Yeah. So.
Ranks right up there. That and Silver Surfer, he always mentioned too, is one of his favorites. Which doesn't get enough play, in my opinion.
It don't at all. But if you go back and watch that cartoon that Jared brought up, everybody pops up in that cartoon.
Yeah,
even Stan Lee's wife, she passed, R.I.P. Even she makes a cameo in the old Spider-Man cartoon.
Yep. I mean, we talking about from the Avengers to the X-Men, who was my favorite genre battle, characters that he created. The X-Men, the Avengers, the Guardians of the Galaxy. Everybody pops up in the Spider-Man universe. I think the Spider-Man universe should have his own thing going on there. But
hopefully they go that direction with the Spider-Man video game. That the new one that was released a couple of months ago. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think it will.
Yeah, I played a little bit of it. It's got all the villains for sure.
Yeah, it's a great game. I haven't finished it yet, but it has some nice surprises and storylines in it. They even have spoiler alert. They have Miles Morales in there.
Oh yeah.
Those who don't know, that's like the current new
Into the
Spider-Man.
Into the Spider-Verse, yeah.
Yeah. Sony also has that Into the Spider-Verse movie coming out next month. Man, this year went by so fast.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, that's coming out next month. And I won't be surprised if they have like an animated cameo of Stan Lee in that as well.
Oh yeah, he is. I was reading something about his cameos, and he will be a voice over. You won't see him in the cartoon, but he will be a voice over into the Spider-Verse.
That's awesome. So, what a lot of people don't realize when it comes to these characters, some of them are more complex than people realize, because Stan Lee and Marvel, they took a lot and put a lot of thought into some of these characters and made them relatable for people in real life. Like we mentioned Spider-Man, he's relatable because he's a superhero, yet he works a 9-to-5 just like anyone else. He's the guy trying to get the girl, and he even has his struggles with his job, with his rent, just like any other comic man has ever went through.
That was probably one of Stan Lee's biggest things he brought to comics. Is before that they were all aliens and just super beings that had no issues. He turned them into people that actually have the daily struggles like everybody else, and then also have to figure out how to be a superhero at the same time. Yeah, and that was something that hadn't been done before.
Yeah, he brought the human effect to it. Yeah, and it's kind of crazy to think about. This guy has been responsible for over 1,200 to 1,300 characters, and
wow,
what type of personality you got to have to create that,
right?
It's like you can say he's the Steve Jobs of illustration and story writing, but you got to reverse that since he came before Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs is the Stanley of technology,
right?
So.
Yeah, and Stan Lee, he was a very humble man. He just wanted people to love and appreciate his art, and give people something to relate to. And tell these stories. I remember seeing him mention how a lot of people around him were doing these great things, like I have a career in this, I have a career in that, and degree in this, degree in that, and he didn't know if he would be able to, be something great. So he just stuck to what he knew.
Funny, he was embarrassed really about his whole where his career was going early on. Stan Lee came to be because he changed his name to Stan Lee in the comics because he was kind of embarrassed about what he was doing. So he would have to put his real name.
his real name,
and eventually he did change his name to Stan Lee. But it's just funny that he wasn't even confident in what he was doing,
And you know what? I'm embarrassed to admit, until a week ago, I didn't even know his name was Stanley Lieber. Yeah, you learn something new every day, man.
You do. If you stop learning, you might as well just give up and die.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, the characters, the X-Men. I saw that the X-Men were kind of a metaphor or a representation of like blacks going through the Jim Crow era, and everything that they had to go through, civil rights movement, and if you watch the cartoon or even in the movies, you can see like there was a lot of animosity towards mutants, and they just wanted to be equal. And then you had the more militant mutants like Magneto, who were more like a Malcolm X, like, no, we tired of being peaceful, we're about to do things our way. And Magneto, that ended up turning him ultimately into a villain because he started taking things a little bit too far.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then just that'll take away from that. The X-Men were always kind of fighting the government. The mutants were always going against the government, and it's easily relatable to what's going on now. And the X-Men was so cool, and it's to go back what Shellie was saying about the human effect that Stan Lee brought to the world of comic books and illustration and just storytelling in general. It was just like I just love the X-Men. I love the storylines. I love how the famous X-Men animated series cartoon in the 90s, that was a huge hit. I recently watched all of the cartoons probably about a year ago. I don't know how recent that is to most people nowadays, but to me that's kind of recent to go back and watch that, a show I used to watch in my childhood. And to sit back and watch that whole cartoon series was amazing. And even the music score that used to come.
Oh yeah, I'll never forget that.
That was a hit.
So
yeah.
Who were you more a fan of in that cartoon? Cyclops or Wolverine?
Wolverine.
Oh man, Wolverine all day, man. Logan, man, and it goes back to what's that? The last Wolverine movie, Logan. Which was a huge success.
Yeah, Logan was great. I actually need to see that again. I haven't seen it since the first night it was released.
Yeah, I got it on DVD, and the storytelling, man. Even like to incorporate, the American culture, and he kind of missed his abilities, and even with the Japanese culture, it's kind of like insane how it all wraps around one character. and it just takes off into this whole another, place where we like can imagine anything is possible. So Stan Lee was the man for that, man, bringing stuff like that to
Absolutely.
life.
Right, no doubt. So we talking about the heroes. Who are some of your favorite villains from the Marvel universe that Stan Lee created?
Oh man, that's a great question. There's so many.
Yeah.
Like Doc Ock, just a great story there. I mean, oh man, there's so many good ones out there. And get into the X-Men, Magneto. That's another. I mean, they're lifelong friends, and they have to, because of how the mutants are being treated, they have to be on two different sides. I mean, it's just such an amazing dichotomy, and he's so great at not just making heroes, but also making villains that you can almost love to hate, right?
Yeah, and some of the villains are actually relatable.
Mm-hmm.
Like each villain I've seen in these Marvel films and shows, each of them had like just about like a legit reason for becoming the way they are. Not just I'm evil for the hell of it.
Right. Well, like Black Panther. I mean, the poor kid's family, his father's killed just to save the Wakanda, secret. Killmonger, yeah.
Killmonger.
I mean, like he doesn't have a good reason to be, the way he is. I mean,
yeah, he had a legit reason.
I used to like what was that Spiderman villain?
Craven.
Craven. I thought he was pretty dope. Apocalypse, one of my favorites.
Oh yeah. Even though that film was kind of meh, but
yeah, I liked it. It had a few scenes, but I wish it could have, could have, had more of the X-Men characters in there fighting them. I would have loved to see that. It was cool seeing him get together, the Four Horsemen. But other than that, I think they left a lot out that they could have did with. But it was cool.
They shot themselves in the foot from the start by having him look like Ivan Ooze from the Power Rangers movie. So like,
that costume, didn't do it justice. But as far as the Quicksilver scene, I think it made up for the whole movie.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah. But villains, oh man, I like Morbius, the vampire. He's pretty cool.
There's actually a Morbius movie being made.
I heard with Jared Leto was playing them, right? I heard about that. Other than that, man, I know it's some real cool villains, and man, you have to kind of circle back around with me. I'm just gonna keep.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to mention Venom, but Todd McFarlane created him, so
yeah,
right.
Yeah, but there's an entire list, but we'll get back around to that. But Stan Lee, I mean, how do you guys feel he made an impact on culture overall, like the nerd culture or science fiction or just overall in general?
Well, he definitely made it cool to be a nerd. I mean, he's the embodiment of cool. I mean, everything he does, he just has that swagger about him. You know what I mean? That
shades on.
Yeah. So right. He's always got his shades. He's always confident. I mean, he I don't know, just made it cool to be into comic books.
Right. I feel like he was like the Hugh Hefner of pop culture or something, man. This guy was just too cool.
See him kick back, laid back with his shades on and a sweater. Like, yeah.
What about that nude shot he did there with the comic book covering his?
Wow, what?
You ever seen that?
I didn't see that. I did not.
Back in like the 80s.
You got to
I'll send it to you. Yeah, he took a photo shoot of him laying across the couch naked with a comic book covering his junk.
Wow, I've never heard about that one.
Yeah, he's cool, man. He's cool.
Yeah, he was pretty over with the ladies too, man. I was seeing all these tributes, and some of these people like, man, I didn't know you knew you were into Stan Lee like that.
And like for what he's done to pop culture, I think he kind of like changed the game, or like never, like you're never too old to be a kid. He like these characters have been out for like decades. I mean, cartoons. Just think about so much, that's been put out based off, his imagination. Kind of like Walt Disney a little bit, So it's like, man, I'm surprised, because what they just got an amusement park out there, right? What was Island of Adventure, or is it a Marvel amusement park in Disney World?
There's gotta be.
And ironically, Disney owns Marvel.
Yeah,
so.
Disney's gonna throw it in there. They got Star Wars in there. They got to throw in some Marvel too.
Yeah, Stan Lee, he was with Timely Comics, and his first big break was Captain America.
Comic number 3. That's the first one he wrote on.
So Cap, we see a lot of center around Cap, and even though him and Stark bump heads, and they both kind of seems like both of them are equally the leader. Ultimately, Cap is pretty much the leader of the Avengers.
Sure.
And
he's like the heart.
Yeah, I love it. And with Avengers 4, man, I believe that's Cap's last film. So
yeah,
at least Stan got to be around to see the end of for the beginning and the end of that character in the MCU.
Right. It's going to be very difficult to watch in the number 4, with all these characters that are definitely going to die. I mean, it's going to have to happen, right? And then him just dying. I mean, it's going to be difficult. I mean, I've already been choked up many times after his passing, and seeing not just him in real life, but the characters, in these in this MCU going away. It's going to be really tough to watch.
Yeah, most definitely, man. It came kind of out of nowhere, even though he's obviously elderly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it felt kind of like out of nowhere. Like, man, Stan Lee died. Like, I saw a lot of people talking about it, and showing him much love.
It hit me on the way home from work, where Mike and I work. There's, it's basically right by O'Hare. And as I was going home, they had those electronic billboards on the side of the road. And whoever's running it changed one of the billboards to just say Excelsior. And man, that was tough. Even now, I'm starting to choke up a little bit about talking about it. I mean, I never met the guy, but I spent so much time with him. It almost feels like I knew him.
Yeah, and I regret not having the opportunity to meet him as well.
Yeah, like I know he's been to quite a few comic cons in our day and age. It's kind of like like Michael Jackson going, or you just like, man, this guy affected so many people, and he will continue. His work is timeless.
Absolutely.
Like that's a nice segue as far as the comic book, genre, or like where does comic books, and like think about these movies that's out now, or these TV series that's out now. Well, what the comic book genre, like, what do you think Stan Lee's indirectly had an effect on it, or just like as far as like comic books turning into cinema all of a sudden, or coming to the TV? Like, do you think that like that's a thing that just started happening? Or
the TV like and film adaptations of comic book film, comic book source material.
Well,
that's been around for a while. Like even during the era where they were doing like black and white films still. So it's been a while.
But it hasn't been as successful as it is now. Now it's
definitely Nowhere near close.
Yeah, it's like the thing to do now. It's like even like actors, you see actors that so some actors won't even touch an action or a cartoon flick. Now they're starting to come on board now. I guess probably because of the money. I mean, that's the easiest way to to explain it. But you're starting to see actors starting to just fall in line and become a comic book character.
Yeah, they draw that big money in, man.
What were you saying, something? Oh, I'm sorry. The funny thing Stan Lee did is he completely flipped things around. Back, in the comic book days, Marvel, timely Marvel, they were all trying to compete with Detective Comics, DC, right? It was always they were just reacting to what DC was pulling out there, right? And now the Marvel comic universe, DC is just trying to keep up, with what Marvel's doing. So and that's all because of Stan Lee. The characters he created, the stories he put out there. He was able to take timely comics, Marvel comics, and make them more of the force in the entertainment universe.
Yeah, and it's DC. I mean, they're doing a bad job of catching up with Marvel, but as far as films, but I'm still looking forward to Aquaman and other films from DC. But yeah, they might eventually need to just let that cinematic universe go and let Marvel be their thing and DC just come up with their own way, because it's not working out.
So that's a cool comparison. But I'm gonna come back to the comic book thing, because I think it's important to let our listeners know that comic books were we don't read newspapers no more.
If it wasn't for those comics, we wouldn't have these great movies we love as far as
absolutely
superhero films.
Yeah, people used to grab the funny papers and just watch these comic strips, or I think that was I used to go get the paper from my dad, and I just used to read the little comic things. One of our episodes that we did, speaking of comic books, I didn't know Sabrina the Teenage Witch was a comic, and it's derived in the Archie comic universe. So I didn't even know that. So, but that's just to let listeners know that comic books were very, very big deal back when newspapers were relevant.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of crazy to go for Marvel versus DC. I think what Stan Lee and Marvel did that was so important, they put an emphasis on the side characters and not just the main character. The side characters, you call them role players or whatever you want to have them, or bench players. Those characters were. I think he gave those characters a personality that any one of us can relate to, or know somebody that's somewhat like that character. And he didn't just you see Batman. That's all you see.
Superman.
Yeah, Superman. What about those little characters? Lois Lane, Stan Lee. I can see Stan Lee giving Lois Lane some powers or something,
or more personality at least. Because if you mention Lois Lane, there's not much to dive into.
Right. It's a love interest, right? That's it. Just a love.
I get what you're saying.
So Stan Lee really focused on the side characters just as much as he focused on the main characters. I think that's where DC dropped the ball at, and they got a lot of good side characters that they can go deep into and add some content in. Because I'm a huge, my favorite comic book or hero of all time is Batman, but out of both DC and Marvel. But I respect the work, for the sake of this episode, of what Stan Lee did and is going to continue to do, just off being focused on those side characters.
Yeah, my favorite, like I said, was Spiderman, but now I'm thinking about I don't even know where to start after watching all these movies. I'm thinking about going back and buying some of the older comics just to take a dive into them, because I most definitely was not an Iron Man fan before Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
So yeah, he brought new life to that character.
Yeah, he did. I mean, at first I was like, Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. That's terrible. But then after the first one, like, oh, well, shoot, he's Iron. He's Tony Stark. No doubt about it. I mean, there's just
exactly. Like I forgot his real name. I Tony Stark.
I think he's unfortunately not going to make it through the next Avengers movie either.
I don't know. They have to have give a great reason for why these characters don't appear going forward. So I don't know.
Well, contracts too. You know, they're gone, right? I mean, have they renewed?
Not that I know of. But they're gonna need like a legit reason going forward when we see these newer Marvel films, and we're gonna be sitting there like, why didn't Iron Man come help, or why didn't Cap come help? If we just see these new characters fighting off these big threats and losing, you know, because I see people already saying this about Captain Marvel, and she hasn't even made her debut yet.
Right.
Oh, where was Captain Marvel when this was going down? If she's from the 90s.
I'm pretty sure that answer would be
taken
care of. Will get answered. Yeah, that question will get answered.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
But
what's your guys' favorite Marvel character of all time?
Like side character or hero?
Oh, in general.
For me, well, just like Shellie said, I mean, we both picked Peter Parker and
Spiderman.
Yeah, that's for several reasons. I mean, he is probably the most relatable character.
Yeah, he's always got that inner turmoil. You know, I love being a superhero, but I hate being a superhero. You know, this is what happened that because I did what I did, my uncle is gone. You know. But now I have to do it for him. I mean, it's always these inner struggles that he's got that makes him very relatable.
What about you, Mike?
Yeah, for me, oh man, I feel like a lame saying this. Like, I think it's Thor. Like for me, that's Thor, and it's a toss up between Thor and Wolverine for me.
So why Thor?
Yeah. I love Thor's story, man, especially how it's portrayed in the movie. I love a lot of people don't like the first Thor movie for whatever reason, but I don't think because I think it was kind of slow and it wasn't that much action in it. But I love the story behind it. You know, this guy's a god. You know, his father is Odin, and he took his powers away and sent him back to Earth to be human. And, you know, I just love that. You know, the humbleness in that story. You know, like, you know, appreciate. You know, you got to learn to serve.
And even without powers, he was still a hero, right?
Exactly. So it's like, you know, that was a huge lesson for him, and it propelled him to be a great hero. With Wolverine, I mean, we don't like Wolverine. I mean, you gotta, you know, man, the guy there lived, you know, I think he's been alive since the 1940s or something. You know, he's fighting in wars with Captain America, and all the way up to the, you know, to now, you know, he's still living. You know, he keeps dying and coming back.
You think they'll bring him back again?
But
after Logan?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, he's one of the most popular X-Men. If you got to do an X-Men movie, you got to bring Wolverine in. So, yeah, so what's your guys' strongest? Who you think is the most strongest one?
A lot of people say Hulk, and here's a fun fact. About Hulk. He was originally supposed to be gray, and an issue with the printer that they had turned him green.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
That kind of hey Shellie, that goes to just a sidetrack a little bit to what you were saying about the Jaws movie. Well, you remember you was telling me about the
the reason he didn't see him as much. About the reason he didn't see him as much. Yeah. Were they okay? Because the animatronics weren't working. The thing that they made, the puppet, it just couldn't handle the salt water, and so it made them have to be more subtle, and that's one of the reasons why most people love the movie, is because you just don't see the shark. You do, it's so impactful, and so yeah, same type of thing as a happy accident.
Yeah, negative leading to a positive.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So we all know that Stan Lee's made a lot of cameos in all of these Marvel films,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people don't know his favorite Marvel film cameo is actually his cameo from the Fantastic Four film, Rise of the Silver Surfer,
Mm-hmm.
and that was taken right from one of the issues of the comics, where he also made a cameo in that as well.
Well, that's a good question. What's you guys' favorite cameo?
Yeah, so
I don't mind. Mine is the Tony Stank. That was my favorite.
Yeah, that was
Tony Stank when he was a FedEx guy, and he came in there and he's like, "I got a package for Tony Stank."
Yeah, that was unexpected. Like, what the heck?
I think the second Avenger movie cameo pops to mind for me when he gets drunk.
Oh,
and also the Guardian of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
the second one.
Yeah, that was. I was reading I was listening to one of the things. He really loved that one with Thor, where Thor gave him the alcohol and he was all drunk.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good one too.
I'll say my current fave is he made a cameo in the new Spider-Man game, actually. And that was like totally unexpected. Like he just popped up out of nowhere, like, "Hey, kid, I hope you guys work things out." Like, what?
It's amazing. So, he's been doing this since '89. Can you believe that? He's been making cameos since '89. He was in Trials of the Incredible Hulk as a back then. So he's been doing this forever.
I didn't even know he did make cameos that long. 89?
89?
Yeah.
Which film was that?
When no, it's the Hulk show, right?
Oh yeah, I love that show too.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I didn't even realize that Marvel had this great, vast universe back when I was loving that show.
Yeah.
Sci-fi.
Because I think Captain America had a TV show.
Spider-Man. It was terrible.
Spider-Man. Yeah, it was horrible. And I can't think of another one, but yeah, I think those are the two that comes to mind.
So, do you guys the theory that Stan Lee's, especially in the Marvel comic universe, his cameos are actually a character as part of the Watchers? What do you guys think about that?
You think you said Stan Lee will be one of the Watchers?
Oh,
right. That's one of the theories out there, is that Stan Lee popping up in all the movies is really him keeping an eye on the Earth, and he's Oatu or something like that, one of the Watchers, or even in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, they credited him because that was the one where he was on the asteroid in a spacesuit talking to the Watchers, right? And they say he's credited there as Watcher's informant or something like that. So, I mean, do you guys think that they're going to bring that into it, or it's just a theory and we'll never know?
I could see it as a possibility, but they might just X that out, maybe just because he passed.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it was on the table at the time. But I'm sure they'll reveal it sooner or later, because they throw out a lot of information like later on, even though they're super secretive right now.
Yeah, and I think the Watchers, what's cool about that is that I think that word it was on the table, because I heard about that theory too. And I think it was just gonna now I think they're just gonna do a tribute to him in the last film, they might include it. Watching over everything.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, they've already filmed it. They've already filmed it, so it's possible they might, be doing something.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind them connecting those cameos and just revealing that, all along that's been the same guy.
Right?
He's the Watcher. He broke. Yeah, breaking the fourth wall.
Right. Now that you mentioned that, I want to bring up breaking the fourth wall. I just read today that there's a petition going around for after they are finished with the cameos that Stanley's already filmed, having Deadpool take on the mantle of cameos in Marvel movies, being that he is the quintessential breaking the fourth wall character. I don't know. It's just a petition going around, but I don't know what do you guys think of that?
Nah. I think that's just a fan trying to push for that, or a group of fans trying to push for that. I think it would take away from the movie if Deadpool pops up and pops up in the Guardians of the Galaxy, or what I'm saying, like he just pops up.
He could be on some like weird planet somewhere, the bar sitting there and just some just random little thing that doesn't affect the story. I can see that.
It is one of the most popular things that Marvel does, these cameos, everybody loves it, right? Well, except for your friend there that didn't know who Stan Lee was. Never being able to watch a Marvel movie, but do you think they'll just let the whole thing, I hate to say it this way, die with Stan Lee, or do you think they'll figure out another way to make it happen? Yeah,
no pun intended. I don't. I think they'll find a way to incorporate him, in some form or fashion. I think he did a lot of voiceover stuff. I think they'll include him somehow. Yeah, but as far as him informed, that we probably can't rely on that too much.
Well, even like in the Netflix shows, some of his cameos weren't him actually, being on film. It was like pictures in the background, of
right.
Like a wanted poster or something in the police station, that's something they can continue forever, maybe a statue of him in a park. Who knows?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind them keeping that going. It's a tradition at this point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. You got to include him, his name or a poster or whatever.
As long as they don't do
where do you guys?
I'm good.
Yeah.
No, I doubt it. Unless it's a cartoon or something like that.
You don't want them bringing in like a hologram.
Nah, man. So what was your question you about to ask?
Where do you guys see the movies going from here? Like, what's to come? What's in the future? That anything that you guys heard of that's coming down the line, or after this Captain Marvel and
there's another Spiderman movie. There's you got Black Panther coming out. There's a lot of movies out there that are still in the works.
Yeah, Black Panther Part 2.
Do you think
you got Spider-Man Far From Home coming out next year in July? That's the third movie Stan Lee has made his cameo for already.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see more Stan the Man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they will ever incorporate the Netflix characters into the movies?
No,
I doubt it. I doubt it. It's because even though they all take place in the same universe, the way, the structure of doing the film and the show, it's hard for them to get together and put together a timeline that makes sense for all of these to all just come into the fold together on the same time frame. So I believe I saw somewhere that they said the Netflix shows take place a little bit after Avengers 1.
Mm-hmm.
So
right,
everything, all these films, they've moved forward, and Yeah, the Netflix shows, they're just still pretty much in the past. So that kind of explains things.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. But do you guys think it can be done?
Anything can be done, if they just put the time, effort, money into it.
Me personally, I don't think it's impossible for them to include them. Like Daredevil is a pretty big character, and to showcase him in some form of fashion. Even though I'm okay with him not being there, but it'd be cool to, to have something of those characters. Even Luke Cage is a big Power Man, is a big character through Spiderman. So Daredevil even pops up in Spider-Man.
Punisher.
Yeah.
The Kingpin, yeah.
And they
I was kind of
the guy that plays Fisk in the Daredevil shows, he's been saying on Twitter that he wants to be in a Spider-Man film. So I hope they get that done.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, he's a great Kingpin.
Yeah, he's very compelling.
I was kind of shocked, if you guys seen the Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck, I was kind of shocked to see Michael Clark Duncan play.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I didn't see that coming.
I forgot about. I erased that movie from my memory.
R.I.P. to Michael
Clark. Did Stan Lee make a cameo in that? Did Stan Lee make a cameo in that?
Yeah.
Yeah, did he? Wasn't he with a young Daredevil that stopped him from walking into traffic or something like that?
Yeah, I always confuse that scene with the one I always confuse it with that scene with the one in the Netflix series.
Yeah, I don't know. That one's been so long ago.
Yeah, so I was shocked to see. I really liked the Daredevil movie. I ain't had no problem with it, but I was just shocked to see Michael Clark Duncan be the Kingpin in that movie, but he didn't do too bad of a job. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was all right. But,
mm-hmm. The only Netflix character that we probably will all agree that I'm okay with them not bringing up.
Yeah, God.
So, they got to recast that character.
It's the worst Netflix Marvel. So slow.
Yeah, they need to recast the character. I don't think he was just the wrong man for the job. He wasn't, he's not a bad actor. It's just that role wasn't for him. That's all. So yeah, some roles are for people, and that one definitely was not.
I actually like season 2 of Iron Fist though, and half of season 1. Like it started out slow, but around episode 5, it kind of picked up, and then he was better in the Defenders, and also he made a cameo. Well, not a cameo, but he was actually in an episode, like throughout the episode, towards the end of season 2 of Luke Cage. So the character was written better. You could tell Finn Jones was more comfortable with, putting his spin on the character, and I hope to see more in the future from him, even though they canceled it. Like I think he did a nice job, because at the end of the day, you got to do what the directors tell you to do, and follow that writing, follow that script. So
yeah, but I think what would have helped that character, this guy has to be experienced in kung fu and martial arts. I think he was learning on the go on how to do that. And, it was like, you can tell something was off. And definitely the writing was bad. But I think, that would have been a huge help. Some type of comprehension of understanding in the, Chinese and the Kung Fu arts. It just goes a long way with the role.
Yeah. Well, Netflix canceled Luke Cage and Iron Fist.
Yeah, I can't believe they canceled Luke Cage.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming. I don't think, to me, I'm hoping, this is me wishful thinking, I think they canceled it on Netflix and it's going to pop up on the new Disney Plus.
Oh, yeah, that's possible. But, do you mind if
I think they're going to do Heroes for Hire and also Daughters of the Dragon. And Heroes for Hire, that's when Luke Cage and Iron Fist team up And just like the title says, they're heroes for hire. They start doing hero work for contracts and payments or whatever. So I could see them eventually doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Loki already has a series that seems to be on board
on Disney Plus,
on Disney Plus. So they are investing in these characters to get their own platform and shows going jumpstart. I think they see the success in it. So hopefully, Disney does the right thing and continue. I think Luke Cage is a hit. I think they should continue to do Luke Cage.
Yeah, I mean, just because Stan passed doesn't mean his work doesn't live on. There's so many more stories to tell.
Oh yeah,
there's an endless amount of source material.
No doubt. There's so many characters, and I mean that was actually one of the funny things I learned about him. I mean, you always knew that he did the whole naming his characters because he has so many characters. The way to remember him, because he had such a bad memory, was by putting the initials the same, like Peter Parker, Bruce Banner, J. John, Jonah Jameson, and all these.
JJ.
All these names were because he's had so many, he had to have a way to remember them.
Right.
Yeah, I was wondering how he pulled that off, and because I think it was getting to a point he was just creating characters, just to be creating, and it just worked well with what he was trying to get out of his head.
Yeah, to throw a lot of stuff at the wall just to see what would stick, right?
Yep, exactly. And his characters, the story, end up, these characters didn't just all pop up with superpowers. They evolve,
and
So
he did this stuff early on too, like back in the 1942. He was in the Army, right? In the Signal Corps. He was repairing, telegraph poles and stuff like that. And the only reason I know that's my father-in-law did the same thing. And I don't know if their paths ever crossed, but they noticed his talent, and they made him a military classification of playwright. There was only like 8 people, in all of the military that had that classification. He would come up with the posters and stuff like that. One of the ones that I thought was hilarious that he worked on was a poster for venereal disease, trying to bring attention to the GIs, to be cautious so they don't take themselves out of the military because of a venereal disease. So even then, there was enough talent there that they take them off of the pole, as it were, and put them into writing and being creative.
Nice. Here's another fact about Stan Lee that a lot of people don't know, because he gave life to all these characters and stories, but in his younger days, he used to write obituaries.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And he quit because he said it was too depressing. So that's understandable.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it would not be a job you'd want to be excited about going to.
Yeah, thank God he didn't settle for that, and what if he just would have settled for that and he just did that for the rest of his life?
Oh, man. Right. We have some interesting obituaries out there.
So that's something inspiring. Like, don't never settle and just go for what you dream about, what you're good at.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly.
That's amazing.
So Stan Lee, he passed away the other day, and they had a private funeral for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what. So outside of the comics and the movie cameos, like what's pretty much, when you think of Stan Lee, what do you think about? Like, what's your favorite memory or thought of Stan Lee?
Man, I mean,
besides
the name,
he loved his family. he's a family man. That's one of the things I strive to be, is a really good family man. I love my family. That's everything I do for them, right? And same with him. He adored his wife. I mean, that was a big, when Joan died in 2017, that was a big blow to him. After, losing one of his daughters early on. I mean, he had two daughters, Joan and Jan, and Jan died shortly after childbirth. He did everything for them, He was always, even his wife was in a lot of cameos as well. There's a few of them. So, he's a family man.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Stan Lee, I'm not sure, did he write that famous Uncle Ben quote, "With great power comes great responsibility"?
That's a
I believe
great question.
Did. That was everything, because he did all the writing. Steve Ditko, and I don't know, did Jack Kirby work on Spider-Man too?
Yeah, but not that to that extent with Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man was Stan Lee's baby. Jack Kirby, he was like more on the Avengers and X-Men side. He definitely was a Captain America guy. So.
They all had their falling outs too, but in the end.
Here's another thing he did. He wrote training films for the Army with Dr. Seuss. Now I'm just learning more and more.
Nah, that's a fun fact. Yeah, that's a very fun fact.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
What?
Stanley, he had his fingerprints all over the place, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I feel like, do you think he got the credit that he deserved? Do you guys feel that?
Well,
or did it came later down the road?
Later. Yeah. I don't know if any of the comic book people really got the credit they deserved until later. What was it, the 80s, 90s? The whole comic book. Marvel filed for bankruptcy back then. None of the comic book industry got the credit they deserved until later.
So you think these movies and cartoons that really made it back? Because I think the cartoons jump started it. All comic book eras. Even with the Batman animated series cartoon, that's my favorite cartoon. And then you got the X-Men animated series. Even I think these cartoons on to the movies and to the TV screen, I think it jump started the recognition.
Yeah, it got enough interest into it where the powers that be saw there was money to be made.
Yeah, because these are blockbuster films now. Like, if you see that name Marvel Studios attached to it, or even Marvel now, just the name Marvel now, because Venom did surprisingly well.
Right.
It's guaranteed.
It's a good movie.
If it's not a great film, you're at least going to be entertained.
Right. You know what you're getting into, right? You're gonna have fun.
Yeah, I was talking to my barber, and even I talked to my parents about these movies, and they're not a fan like us. They don't follow it as much as I do, but they don't even been excited, or my barber told me, I don't even go see movies like that. I just want to go see Black Panther, and he said Ant-Man. I remember watching the first one on Stars, and I went to go see the second one with my son, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and now I'm starting to follow it, everything now.
Yeah.
So, people that's not been fans of comic books or even these characters are starting to due to the films, and I think it's rejuvenating the recognition for Stan.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you guys. I had no idea what Guardians of the Galaxy was, or what it was about, or who any of the characters were before I went to go see that movie.
Sure, that's understandable.
And I ended up turning into a big fan. Like, man, I was surprised.
Yeah, shout out to the what's the guy's name? Was James
Gunn. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to, because he really it's different than writing it on paper and illustrating it. Then you bring it to the screen, and these actors and characters, it gets poured out, and you just fall in love with
Yeah, I
the
hope
character.
what happened with him doesn't ruin the Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, I know this next one they're still filming it off of his script, but after that, I don't know. I mean, he won't be involved anymore.
It's funny that you brought up the Guardians of the Galaxy. I ain't get them mixed up with the two, but do you guys know who the Starjammer is?
No, I haven't heard.
Vaguely.
I'm not.
All right. So the Starjammers are they're in the galaxy too, but they always popped up in the X-Men universe of things. So it's like Cyclops' father is the captain of the Starjammers. Yeah. So I always got the Starjammers confused with the Guardians of the Galaxy. So I always wonder. I gotta do my research on those two. But I feel like, why do they got these two different? It's like, I know Marvel had a lot of arguments between each other, but it's like, are they going against each other? Like, go, when you guys finish with this episode, go look up the Starjammers. Even go put up an episode of Starjammers on the X-Men cartoon, and you're gonna see so many similarities with the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's not even funny.
Interesting. It's such a deep universe. There's so much more they can do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, I don't know. Is there any characters that people might not be too familiar with that you guys would like to see them use that Stanley created?
Ooh.
Great question.
Yeah, I'd have to do some research on that one.
For me, this character kind of jump started the Marvel Studios, but for me, it's Blade. I would love to see Blade pop back up. I mean, if Punisher can pop up, Blade definitely can pop up. And I think Punisher became more popular over the days, but I actually think Blade is the more popular.
Yeah, Blade would be amazing. I'd like to see. I brought it up earlier, but I'd like to see him do more with Silver Surfer.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, definitely. But it's so hard to include him, because of the CGI. You want to make it as realistic as possible. I thought the second Fantastic Four movie with him, it was okay to me. I think they did a great job. And who's the enemy? Galactus. So. It was cool to see him in there.
Yeah, I mean, there's that was actually probably some of the best comic book storyline, the Galactus Silver Surfer stuff. That Stanley did back in the day. I mean, that was a really great story, and I could see him bringing that into the Marvel comic universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to see them do Fantastic Four all over again.
Yes.
And X-Men as well. I just want them to reboot everything. Some people just can't let go of the past, and no, I want them to bring back the same Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, and no, I just prefer them to start all over again.
Oh yeah, speaking of X-Men, I like to see Gambit, man. I used to love Gambit.
They're still making that movie, right? It hasn't been.
Gambit. Yeah, with Shannon Tatum.
Who knows?
I know it had a lot of problems, but it's coming out, isn't it?
I don't even think he was the right person. I ain't had no problem with the other guy playing Gambit that popped up in Wolverine Origins.
Oh yeah,
he's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I was saying that I would prefer them. If I had the choice, I would get Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead, who plays Daryl.
He would make a great Gambit.
Right.
Yeah.
And for Cyclops, I feel like they never did him justice because us fans never really end up being like rooting for the guys that they had placed. So I think somebody who could bring a new spin to him and make him more likable would be Joel Kinnaman.
Man, they got. Yeah, they got to make Cyclops, big. He got to add some muscle. Cyclops is he's more stocky than the one they've been using him to play. kind of make him into a preppy boy, and you know, Cyclops is more.
You guys familiar with Joel Kinnaman that played Will Conway in House of Cards, and he played RoboCop in the reboot?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he'll be a cool Cyclops.
Yeah,
he would be. Cyclops. Perfect. He's the character I'm talking about. Yeah, you know, as far as you know, body stature and everything.
And someone for Logan, I would pick Tom Hardy.
Hardy.
That would be interesting. He would play an awesome Wolverine.
Yeah. So Stan Lee, and we all just appreciate all the stories he wrote and these great films we get to enjoy, you know, not only for us but our kids. And
yeah,
I feel like he left a huge impact on the world.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I've prided myself on, is being able to absorb my children into this universe too. So now it's like, you know, a family event when a Marvel movie comes out, you know, and my daughter, my son, everybody, you know, wants to see it. So and they're getting to know the universe, and you know, they know when Stan Lee comes on the screen who it is.
Yeah.
Hey, and Shell, shout out to
yeah, I love that movie, guys. Being able to, at least back in the day before. I mean, now it's a little bit tougher, but man, I was like, I'd go see the Marvel movies like 4, 5, 6 times. You know, it was awesome.
So yeah, listeners, in the future, we will most definitely be coming to you with an episode discussing Captain Marvel. We'll be discussing Avengers 4, and we'll also be discussing Spider-Man Far From Home and whatever else MCU films come out. We'll be here discussing them.
Yeah, and before we ended, is there any comic books that you guys are reading now that's Marvel related? You guys are got or reading?
Not at
Just
the
curious.
moment, but I'm thinking about getting into Miles Morales to get more familiar with him.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that. Into the Spider-Verse. At first I was like, but now I'm seeing more about it and I'm learning more about it. You know, I'm really interested to see where they go with it. And they brought him up in the Homecoming. You know, so it's like the characters, you know, already out there, even in the
his uncle mentioned that he had a nephew,
right?
And the character that Donald Glover made an appearance as
was Miles Morales' uncle.
Okay.
In Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Gotcha. Yeah, you're right, man.
So yes, speaking of Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, next month we can actually go ahead and do an episode discussing that.
That'd be awesome. I'd love to be a part of it if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. You could join us.
Mm-hmm.
You can definitely join us, Shellie. And thanks for being on this episode.
Well, thank you so much for having me, man. Excelsior.
And I just wanted to plug the comic book that I'm reading right now. Is Marvel. It's presented by Black Eyed Peas. It's called Masters of the Sun, the Zombie Chronicles, and you know, the new technology for the comic books now is it's a VR comic book, which means that you can use your any device, phone, iPad, to follow the comic strip, and Stan Lee actually narrates the comic.
That's awesome.
So if you guys looking for, you know, to feel some nostalgia from the man, the great one, you know, check out Masters of the Sun. It's presented by Black Eyed Peas. Yes, that is the pop group. They came up with the comic book, and Stan Lee is narrating it.
That's awesome. Cool. I'll check that out. Anything you want to promote or throw out there, Shellie, before we wrap it up?
No, nothing really. Thank you very much, though, for asking.
All right, awesome, man. Thanks for joining us, and we'll bring you back on for sure for the next Marvel-related episode, which will be Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. Until the next episode.
Peace and love.
Adios.